Kevin's the production designer, by the way.
Production designer, so he designed those beautiful things that made you. They were actually so hysterical giggle. That was nervous laughter.
Yeah. This was the giggliest crowd we've ever had. Very strange. Yeah.
Yeah,
he's very straight-faced, so you made him very awkward the whole time. You couldn't handle it.
It's discomfort.
Yes.
Yeah, I never laughed.
That's not true. I saw you laugh.
During this, yeah, with them. But when I watched it before, no, I was not laughing. I swear. So go ahead and tell us the process. You co-wrote the script with her.
Yes. So Kenda is a writer I work with. She was not able to make tonight, but she and I had done 2 projects before this, and this was going to be our thesis film at AFI. And I had this idea that I'd come up with about 2.5 years ago. It was at a time when there was a lot of legislation being put forth trying to, regulate women's rights in a lot of parts of the country. And it was frustrating because it was like all these people that were mostly men that were passing this legislation that couldn't be in this situation themselves. And so we're just like, wouldn't it be nice to see a guy in this situation, And the early drafts of the script were very sort of distasteful schadenfreude, where it was just like a real redneck guy, and you kind of were taking pleasure in this happening to him. And that, as we developed it, it was clear that was like not the way to tell this story. And so Kenda really helped shape it into more of a story about this relationship and how it affects them, and sort of a change of perspective and how that feels, and empathy, and I think it became a much better story as a result.
Yeah, and the world building that you did. I mean, you created an alternate universe where men are not the dominant economic class, not the dominant sexual class, and I actually do love what you did with the religion as well.
Yeah.
Even the symbol of God is no longer a human form.
Yeah, we had a lot of pressure to make a shorter version of this movie because 30 minutes is long.
30 minutes is tough.
It's not the most programmable, and so there was a lot of people saying just do the hunting trip. Have them start on the hunting trip, take a little more time, get to know the characters there. He gets attacked, and you're out. And like there is a version of the movie that works that way, and it's allegory in like a micro sense.
Yeah.
But it's not really looking at sort of the social structures and societal ramifications of these type of things, which is really what was the most intriguing to us. And so we're like, there's just no way to tell the part of this story that we care the most about without going bigger.
Yeah. So that would have just been a rape story.
Yes.
You told a much larger story, which is so much more rewarding of the couple actually having to worry about their income going forward if they act on their own needs and things. Well, let me open it up to the crowd. I'm sure you have some questions and comments.
How many days did you shoot?
So this was 6 days of principal photography and then 2 days of additional photography. Yeah, so it was 8 days.
Wow.
Yeah, it's very expansive for that. That's you had a lot going on.
Yeah, they were very, very packed days that we didn't always make or got close enough and
breezed through.
Yeah, right. Yes.
So this is just more about the storyline, right? So, the supervisor, who had his own, right?
Mm-hmm.
The other guy, the main character guy, he was saying, but the situation was different with you.
Mm-hmm.
Why was he saying that? Like, did they not understand that happened to the supervisor also?
No, but in the opening scene in the movie,
they show
you
the mark,
see
right?
someone going into the fertility clinic and the way that it normally happens in that world. It's anonymous, it's anesthetic, and it's something that you get selected for, and it's a great privilege, right? The way it happens to Tanner, our protagonist, is not the way it happens in the rest of that world. And so when he sees that Daryl has a saccharine child, he assumes, like everybody else does, that Daryl was implanted in the normal way, in a clinic like everybody else. What he finds out is that Daryl also had the same experience he had.
Yeah, and instead of being selected, because it's a selective process.
Right. It's actually a highly selective thing. It's seen as a great honor.
Yeah, it's a great. Instead of being honored, he was assaulted. And apparently Walton is one bad apple.
Walton's our Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
If there was a sequel to your movie, how would it end?
if there was another movie, how would you?
Yeah, no, we're actually developing a television series based on this right now. So the idea is that they, leave town, drive out into the desert, assume false identities, and they start up a business that the front is that it's a garden shop, and the back is that they perform illicit extractions. So when people come over, that's what they do for a living.
I still wish we got to build that garden shop.
I know. Yeah, we had sketches for the garden shop. We had a whole set laid out.
Yeah.
Didn't shoot that part. Did you have more? Sorry.
Well, no, because the ending left me. I mean, it was pretty engrossing, and I was.
Yeah, it's pretty gross. You're right.
Kind of, it was fairly scary, but the ending kind of left me with like what's going on here.
And wanting more, right? You wanted more.
I wanted to see the bad guy.
Yeah.
It would be a superior, in my opinion, it would be a vastly superior sci-fi series than other things that have, like Alienation back in the 80s and things that tried. I just
Alienation
think
was
it's
relevant
such
for its time.
It
But
was.
it's a little corny now.
But I just think this would be an incredibly engaging universe to visit for half an hour
yeah,
or 10 episodes,
We'd
10
love
half-hour
that too.
episodes in a minute.
we would love that too.
How two questions. How did you pick the facial?
Yeah.
How
For
did
the
you
alien.
decide?
So our budget. You want to answer this one?
So there were a couple of criteria. Part of it was based on those packed days we talked about, where we said no matter what, these aliens can't be in the chair for longer than 90 minutes. Like getting this
So the
makeup
makeup
apart.
cannot take too long.
Yeah, because otherwise we would just never be able to shoot the movie.
Mhm.
So that was step one. We knew that it had to be very minimal. We used a lot of Star Trek references, like TNG, things like that, because they did a lot of very minimal work that way that you still believe. And then we shopped around. We made a pretty extensive pitch packet, and we shopped around to a couple different special effects makeup houses and vendors until we eventually found someone who we liked, who worked in our budget and was just very passionate about the project, had a lot of ideas, and then we were able to kind of pick from their catalog and cherry pick things that they had already built, and that was how we were able to afford it.
Yeah.
If we're doing
Yeah.
a television version, they would probably not look the same anymore because we have custom
So they're
version.
a little grander than that. Yeah, we knew we wanted them to have sort of a pearlescent, opalescent skin because we wanted them to be beautiful in a sense, but also terrifying in a way. But yeah, we had to scale down some of our vision of it based on our budget and what could be done quickly.
Well, then, this was the guy that owned the company.
That's right.
How come other people didn't respond to him like, you look like an alien and you're the head of the company? I mean, why didn't they respond to him like something was?
Well, so in the church scene, we learned that everyone believes that Jesus was one of these Sakovan aliens, that the Christ figure himself was a Sakovan, and that since Jesus came 2,000 years ago, we've been hosting these Sakovan aliens and raising them up as our own, as part of our culture.
At least.
So
And they're the upper class. They're
deeply
the
ingrained in
dominant.
their culture. The doctors were also Sakovans.
Right.
Yeah.
In a way, it's like they're the aristocracy.
Exactly.
And they're in control of all the money, all the companies, the churches.
Of
are
the
controlled by
world?
the alien race who came
Of
and
the
got rid of
world.
war and pestilence and
Famine.
disease.
Yeah.
Although there's still hospitals.
Well, the last thing is, I just wanted to say that I like it when you don't know exactly what's going to happen at the end because, a standard ending is a standard ending, but when something leaves you thinking, oh my God, is that happening? Could it happen? I think that's more intriguing.
Yeah,
So-
no, we had that same note. We did shoot a scene where they drove off from the house at the end and got away, and people pretty much universally had the note we prefer it with a little bit of an ambiguous ending, and so we went back and just clipped it and did it there. Yeah, thank you. Yes.
Can you talk a little bit more about the tie-in to religion and whether that decision was based on the whole women's rights being tied to
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. It's really hard to talk about rape and abortion without also talking about religion when it comes to restriction of rights. They're tied. So we knew if we wanted to talk about it on a social level, we'd have to engage with that element of it. So I'm non-religious. My director of photography is Catholic. My producer's Catholic. I don't honestly know what heaven is. We never got there. But we knew we didn't want it to be explicitly an anti-faith movie necessarily. We knew we wanted it to be something about, questioning institutions and, questioning the way that they benefit themselves sometimes and leverage our faith against us at times.
And just when we were location scouting, even, we were able to have conversations with these actual very religious people who run these churches and just talk about how people do infiltrate these institutions of power and use it to manipulate people into things that aren't really tied to their religion at all.
Yeah.
And they all 100% agreed with that because that's what we were talking about.
Yeah.
And we always referred to it as well that
Yeah.
that scene in this film is shorthand. It's to get the point across as quickly as possible, and it probably could be done in a more subtle, more nuanced way in a longer form version. But here, I think it does the job pretty eloquently.
Yeah. So that said, the church where we shot it, they were all cool until they saw alien Jesus on the cross. I didn't love that,
But we did tell them about that beforehand. We didn't pull a fast one. We'll say.
The visual killed them, right?
I really enjoyed what I took away from it was the Outer Limits, the original series,
Yes.
Cronenberg and
Yes.
Carpenter.
Yep.
I love those infusions that
Get
you
it
put
on
in there.
those, yeah. I mean,
Or at least that's what I took away.
We watched both a Cronenberg and a Carpenter film in our pre-production for this as a team to sort of get that in our heads.
Yeah, no, well done.
Thank you.
So I think I misinterpreted the mythology based on something you just said. So I'd love for you to
Sure.
clear it up a little bit,
Yeah.
maybe for me. One shot in particular made me think something. It was the Jesus had that line across the neck, and I thought that maybe this was a fairly recent invasion, and they had replaced the traditional head of Jesus with this alien head. But
Yeah.
it sounds like they've been here for 2,000 years.
There's a couple different answers to that question. In this world, everyone believes that they've been here for 2,020 years. One of the twists we'd like to do in the series is that we find out that our memories have been manipulated and they really have only been here for 10 years. However, the broken neck was just a matter of a production problem.
Don't admit that when you finally
production
on the air.
problem known as the cross toppled over. And
Yeah. So, in a way, you're very right, but not. I need to live that to our part, yeah.
Thanks.
Yes.
Great film, and in this world you've created, can you foresee later on, I suppose, the rising up of a Me Too movement?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. It's I don't know if it would be
Too soon?
Me Too, but no, but I mean, it would be. It is definitely a movie or a TV series about uniting the working class and overthrowing the ruling class. Absolutely. It'll probably have more spaceships, but same idea.
Just because you want them.
Yeah.
And I want to throw in that it's so thematically powerful and so visually, at times, overwhelming or intimidating. That we're also, the performances you got as a director are excellent. I mean, the acting all around is great throughout your whole cast.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to relay that because
Thank
it's
you.
really easy to be so overwhelmed with the universe that you don't realize even Walton's expression of pleasure as his sex organ comes out.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really good acting.
Yeah, no, Hans is great. He does a lot of work. He's a pretty busy guy these days. The whole cast was, almost everybody was someone I worked with before in some capacity, and so I knew they would be good for those roles, and it was just a joy to bring all these sort of ringers together and make it work that way.
It shows.
What was that thing? How did you do that?
So it was a series of different prosthetics that we put together, and some were designed to work one way and some were for another way. So one was able to have things pushed through it to get that egg effect that you saw in the hunting blind. One of them was able to extend.
Yeah.
One was the fully extended one. So there were
One
three.
had the prongs that you see at the very end that come out and that
Yeah.
open the back of the neck. It was all, just physical effects. We worked with a production house that does this kind of stuff in North Hollywood, Ojala Effects, and they just built all the stuff from silicone.
Lots of custom sculpting for two-something months, I think. 2.5 months they were doing it.
So if you've got horror concepts and other things, this is a designer right here. You might want to get his contact info because
Please hire me.
You've seen that he can deliver.
How much did you use practical effects versus computer generated?
Almost all of it's practical effects. There, the computer generated things in the film are. In the church, the baby's arm is computer, but the rest of the baby is practical. And then a couple of the blood hits at the end are animated, but everything else is practical.
Sorry. You mentioned blood hits, and that immediately took me to this. When he was raping the dude, and she comes up and whacks him in the back of the head, she pulled her punch, or
there was
cheated space.
Probably at least 6 inches between them. I'm hoping more than that.
Yeah, because it was like you're like
Yeah,
it made you jump.
Yeah. I mean, you rehearse those things, so I think that probably in that take, if you had production audio, you'd hear me going 3, 2, 1, hit. But like then we take it out. But it's all timed so that Hans knows how to go like that's right.
Yeah.
And what you guys did, I just want to add, what you did with that of creating a situation where a woman is watching her husband be sexually assaulted, and then she saves the day. That's like the most mother-scratching feminist thing.
Well, I mean,
that's just really nice and subtle because it's not over the top, it's not preachy.
Right.
But really, that's a hell of a moment to have.
And that's largely from Kenda's input, because the earliest versions of this script really had her on like a firm believer, you're doing the wrong thing path, where they ended up parting ways at the end of it. And I don't think that I really wanted to tell that story, but it was easy. It was easy to tell that story, and so that was the first draft I wrote. And then Kenda came in and said, I don't want to be involved with it if that's the story we're telling. And I said, yeah, that makes sense. I don't really want to tell that story either. And so we really worked hard to make sure that it was one that had that tension, because we had to talk about sort of the tension between the person that has had it happen to them and their beliefs are forced to change, and the person they're in the relationship with who's sort of beliefs change later by proxy, and we had to have that, but we still wanted it to come around, so that took some working out. But we wanted to have a big, strong moment of agency at the end.
How long did you collaborate on the script?
Yeah, I mean
it's just so well. So much is done so well.
Yeah, I think we started like fully like writing it in May, and probably the final draft was done in November of 2018.
Pretty quick still. Right. Last one.
I hate to have the magic spoiled, but I'm really curious about the aborted fetus and the bull moving around.
Yeah. So that the 2 fetus switcheroo. So one fetus was in the bowl, and that one had a mechanical armature inside of it, and so somewhere around there's a photo of me cutting open a hole in this bowl so that they can do the armature in there. And Winnie, the actress, she drops it, but if you notice, the camera doesn't follow her. It lags behind, so she drops it behind the bowl, and then we follow to the other one.
Yeah. So there's a second fetus behind the bowl that you're not seeing in that shot. That is definitely taking away the magic of cinema.
Yeah, it's gone.
All right, well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great work. And great.